Hello, dear student. So, in this lecture, we are going to discuss theme of the story, the Lament, which is included in your text, The Tales of Life. The story Lament by Anthony Chekhov, which is also known by the name Misery, is based on the theme of despair. The surroundings amplify the sentiment of the main character, Iona Potapov. Cold and grey surrounds Aina Potapov, and he is extremely miserable. Aina Potapov wants to speak to another human about his son's death, but no one is ready to listen. Failing to speak with any humans, he is resigned to speak with his horse. It is a wonderful tale about a man named Aina who is mourning over his dead son. Throughout the story, this driver tries over and over again to talk to someone about his son's death. Aina's son tragically died a week ago and still has not told a soul. Finally, Aina finds comfort when he talks to his horse, which is the only one wanting to listen. The story reflects the harshness of human behavior and the lack of connection and compassion towards others. The story takes place in Russia. Readers are aware of the setting when an officer yells at Aina, saying, "A cabby to Vyopsky." Vyopsky is a village in Russia. The title instantly sets the tone of the short story. The Merriam-Webster dictionary describes the title as a state of suffering and want that is the result of poverty or affliction. A circumstance, thing, or place that causes suffering or discomfort. A state of great unhappiness and emotional distress. Misery can bring emotion and or physical distress to a person. Iona, the main character in the story, for instance, can be distinguished as the most miserable man. The story claims that Aina is white like a ghost, and he sits on the box without stirring, bent as double as the living body can be bent. The text also describes how he was snow plastered eyelashes, and he is unwilling to brush off snow from himself. Aina's lack of caring for himself following his son's death is an expression of being in the state of misery and how he seems dead to the world. Within the story, Aina tries to talk to people 3 times about the death of his son. The first time he attempts to talk with an officer. He tells the officer, my son died this week, sir." This is also the first time the readers learn why he is so unhappy. At first, the officer seems to care and asks Aina what he dies from. But his concern turns quickly to anger when Aina turns completely around in order to face the officer for a chat. The officer seems to be annoyed and unwilling to listen to Aina's misery. He seems to not want to be burdened by his grief. In the next fear, Aina drives 3 young men, 2 tall and thin and 1 hunchback. Aina drives them for less of what the 3 men should be paying him. But Aina seems to be mentally unstable to recognize what is going on in the world around him. As they set off, the hunchback insults Aina by making fun of his hat and how slow of a driver he is. Instead of fighting back or showing hurt from the cruel words of the hunchback, Aina laughs right along with them. Then, when Aina tells them about his dead son, the hunchback says, "We shall all die." Again, Aina gets no sympathy at all. When Aina goes back to his stable, he tries a third time to tell someone about the death of his son, but the cab driver soon fell asleep. Aina finally finds comfort talking to his horse in the stable. He says, That's how it is, old girl. Kuzma Ainach is gone. He said goodbye to me. He went and died for no reason. Then the text states the little mare munches, listens, and breathes on a master's hands. Aina is carried away and tells her all about it. In this part of the story, Aina pours his heart out to his horse, and unlike the officer, the hunchback, and the cab driver, the horse listens or appears to listen in Aina's eyes. The conclusion is left with an indecisive ending. Hopefully, Aina found closure in his horse. Yet Aina wants his listener to sigh and exclaim and lament. The horse does not respond. The story takes a powerful look at the lack of human involvement and compassion towards one man's grief. Aina tries unsuccessfully 3 times to find an outlet to his pain, only resorting to the faithful ear of his horse does Aina reach resignation from the death of his son. After having read the story, the harshness of human behavior, one is forced to take an introspective look at one's own attitude in regarding the sensitivity of others. Chekhov is a master at insightful studies of human behaviors, and even though his stories were written over a century ago, they are timeless classics in that the moral values can still be carried on into our own present lives. Thank you.